Hey guys, welcome back. So this is episode 2 of Ask Snes. So I just want to say thank you for last week's episode, for all the comments I got. It was really nice to see some great positive feedback. So thank you to everybody who watched that episode. I really appreciate the feedback I got for that. And we got some more questions, so let's get straight into it. So first couple of questions are from Chris Kelly. Right, okay, so first question is, have you watched True Detective? If so, what are your thoughts? I did start watching True Detective. I watched, I'm not sure, I think maybe 3-4 episodes, and it was really good to start with. It's one of those shows where it's really slow to get started and you have to really stick with it, but it seemed really good. But I sort of lost interest after those first few episodes and I never watched the rest of it. I probably will go back and watch it at some point because I believe they've been renewed for a second season, so yeah, I might want to give that another shot. I actually thought Matthew McConaughey was absolutely amazing. Woody Harrelson was good, but McConaughey, just something else, really good. So yeah, I'll probably give it another shot, to be honest. Next question. Your thoughts on how they ended Dexter? Hey mate, that's a great question. I don't quite understand why they ended it the way they did. And spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the last ever episode of Dexter, you might want to fast forward. Right, so anybody who has seen it, the end of Dexter, brain's gone blank, hang on a minute. Yeah, right, okay, so his sister dies, Dexter gets on his boat and he goes off into the storm. So you think he's sacrificing himself and that's going to be the end of it, Dexter's dead. And then they show him working on a construction site and he's alive. I don't understand that, because it's like, this is supposed to be the final ever season, not bringing the show back. So why not just kill him? It made perfect sense in terms of the storyline, you know, for him to just commit suicide. I don't get that. So I was a little bit disappointed that they did it the way they did. I think they should have just killed him off and had done with it and left it at that. Yeah, I really absolutely love Dexter. It's a brilliant show. Unfortunately, it does leave it open-ended now, and there's always the possibility of bringing it back. But without his sister as well, I don't think he'd be right without her, because she really makes the show. She's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I don't think they really give that enough thought. And it's a shame, because it was such a brilliant show. It's consistently fantastic every season, and for me at least, I never had a bad season. It was a brilliant show. And his third question, how awesome would it be if they made Supernatural into a video game? You know, I actually was thinking about this the other day. It's funny, that is. It would make perfect sense. I mean, you could do a third-person game with Sam and Dean quite easily, and it'd be actually quite interesting to see how they would handle it, whether you just play one of the characters, or you'd have a two-player mode where you both take over, like an online co-op mode where you can play Sam and Dean, or you could have a game where you control both characters with both sticks, which would probably be a little awkward. I'm thinking like that Brothers game that came out, that downloadable game. Or maybe you could switch the storylines. You could have a storyline where you play Dean's part of the story because they've had to go to different parts of the country or something, or different parts of town. And yeah, that'd be good actually. If you had a story where you could play Dean tracking down whatever the creature is, and then you could switch back to playing Sam doing the investigation part and doing interviews and everything, and then switch back and forth. I don't know. I actually think there's potential with Supernatural because there's so much there, and it's such a massive like story arc, you know. And especially the last couple of seasons, they've really put a lot more into it, the angels and demons and hell and the mark of Cain and all this other stuff. And there's just so much to work with. I actually don't understand why they haven't attempted to do that. I think given the right development team, that could actually work really well, mate. You're onto a winner there. Maybe we should let some, you know, put it out there, get some developers to like take a look at that, because that was a brilliant idea. Right, next question from Muzz247365. Let me have a look. Right, okay. What is the most you paid for a single game? That would have been about 10 years ago or so, and I bought Final Fight Tough, which is Final Fight 3 in Japan, and that was £100. I've never paid over 100 so far. After that would be Mario World, which cost me 80 quid. Yeah, I haven't got to the point where I can afford to buy the really expensive stuff, but hopefully in the future I will be able to save up and do that, because that's my aim, because there are at least 4 or 5 games I want and I'm going to have to pay a lot of money for. But yeah, but that's the most I've spent so far. And why did you decide to get rid of your Xbox collection? The reason for that was purely because it was just overwhelming me. Every time I walked in the room, I just got like 200 plus Xbox games. I got a Super Nintendo collection. I got all these different consoles, and there was a video I put up where I was deflated. If you want to look at that one, if you haven't seen it, and that kind of explains where I was feeling at the moment. At that time, it was just getting on my nerves. I was just looking at all these games. I thought, why have I got all these games? I know I've got that, but that's different. But it was just getting on top of me, and I never really played the majority of the Xbox games. They just sort of sat there, and I thought, well, what's the point? I might as well sell them now while I can, get some money for them. That's the main reason. And yeah, I don't intend to collect for it ever again. It was great at the time because it's a fantastic console, but my heart wasn't in it. My heart's in the Super Nintendo. You know, that's where the money should be going, really. So thank you very much for your questions, mate. Oh, and there's one more question, sorry. And he also asked me, are there any plans to collect for the N64? The Nintendo 64 is one that I've gone back and forth several times since I've been doing YouTube. I've had about 3 or 4 consoles, and I've always intended to collect for it, and then I really like the console a lot. I love the controller. The controller's fantastic, but I can never really commit to it, and I just, that's the reason why I always sell the console. And I think because I've sold it like 3 or 4 times, that says to me I shouldn't really collect for it. But then I also have that little thing, that little voice in my head that wants me to have the essentials like Mario 64 and GoldenEye and Mario Kart and Perfect Dark, just because I like the games and I want to play them. And maybe in the future, I think there's a good possibility in the future I will end up buying an N64 again. At the moment, I'm not. I'm concentrating on NES, SNES, Mega Drive, PS1. That's enough, I think. But yeah, I'm never going to say never on an N64 because it's just something about that console. It's really cool. I like the design of the console. Love the controller to bits. I mean, it's one of the best controllers ever made, and it has a really nice library of games. There's a lot of like average titles on there, but there's like a small like section of just absolutely killer titles to have on that one. So yeah, we'll wait and see. All right, next question from Sushi Sunshine 2000. Couple of words, right? If you could, would you consider buying a Korean SNES, a Hyundai Super Comboy? The games, although they're aimed at a Korean audience, are actually in English and they're 60 Hz. Now, I actually saw this question when I was replying to some of the comments, and I didn't have a clue what it was, so I looked it up on Google, and it's really cool. Apparently, it's quite rare, but the Korean Super Nintendo is awesome. Go and Google it, guys. What's it called? It's the Hyundai Super Comboy. It's amazing. It looks like a PAL Japanese SNES, but it's got like Korean lettering embossed on the console, and it just looks so nice. Yeah, I've had a quick look and I couldn't find one on eBay, so I'm assuming they're going to be bloody expensive when they come up. So I don't know. I'll do some research first and see what I think. But I must admit, just from a hardware perspective, it looks wicked, and I would love to own one of those. But if it's ridiculously expensive, then no. But it all depends on the money and where I am in the future. We'll wait and see. But I must admit, just from a hardware ownership standpoint, yeah, it does look really nice. So thanks for bringing that to my attention, because I've never heard of it as well. Next one, Mr. Drunk Reviews. He asks, what is your favourite kind of cheese? Favourite kind of cheese is Wensleydale with cranberry. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, it's got a lot of calories and it's very, very addictive. And you only get like a small block about like that and like that. It's not much at all. But it's just unbelievable. I bought some a few months back, and instead of just having a little bit here and there, I ended up just demolishing it. I took it out of the fridge and just sitting there watching TV, eating it. And my weight was just getting ridiculous, and I was like, no, got to stop this. But Wensleydale with cranberry is phenomenal. You get it if you're in the UK, you get it from Morrison's. It's absolutely beautiful. So definitely recommend trying that one. Okay, we've got another question from Buzz247365, who asks, how much time do you spend on eBay a week roughly? Honestly, mate, I've no idea. Far too much is probably the right answer. I'm trying to think. I would say I do check it several times a day, so you've got to be talking at least an hour a day, I would have thought. Yeah, I would think at least an hour when you add up all the different times I've checked it. So even that, you know, that's like 7 hours a week, which isn't a lot really, but it's excessive really. There's no need to be checking it that much. It's just paranoia. So what I'm doing now is I'm making lists and I'm trying to stick to them instead. I've got my Super Nintendo list. I'm still compiling my NES list. Mega Drive list is done. I'm definite on the games I want for that. I'm not diverting from that. PS1 is a list I've got to make because that's going to be a huge list because there's so many games. I did find a list of American releases recently, so I've got to make my way through that list and decide what I'm going to pick up. But yeah, I've got an unhealthy obsession with checking eBay all the time, and I need to just stop it. Once I quit, I'm alright, but then once I get back on it again, I can't put it down. So, alright, thanks for the question. Alright, okay, so good friend Josh in Australia, married on Sonic 1986, has given me 7 questions. So thanks, Josh. Okay, so question number 1: if there was a zombie apocalypse around the world, what would you do to survive and save the world? It depends on the situation. Have we got electricity and power? Have we got access to nuclear weapons or not? If we've got none of that and it's just totally apocalyptic and we're just basically we're down to the basics of like swords, rocks, slingshots, we're in deep shit. I honestly, and it also depends if there's a government in power or not, if we've still got the government or if the government has fallen. And if there's no government and you've got to try and take control, there isn't a whole lot you can do, especially here because we're on a small island. So trying to travel to other countries and trying to rally people together is extremely difficult. Although we have got the Channel Tunnel, so we could sort of make our way down to the Channel Tunnel if possible, walk all the way through to France. Then we've got access to Europe, so that's quite handy. So we could rally the troops in Europe and bring everybody together that way. It's just the rest of the world, unfortunately, we haven't got any access because we don't know planes or boats. So I don't know what we do there. That's a really tough one, actually, in the position we're in this country. We're a bit isolated, really. But in terms of survival, just on the mainland, I think, you've just got to basically go underground. That's the only way you're going to survive. Try and find a bunker somewhere. I mean, if the Queen's dead, she'll have a bunker. The Prime Minister will have a bunker, so if he's dead, we can all make our way down to London and try and, hide in the bunkers. I think that's the best option. And then try and find a radio that works, if it's possible, like a wind-up radio or something, and try and send out communications around the world and see who's available. Yeah, that's a really good question, Josh. Well done. Question number 2: would you give an RPG a chance with a full walkthrough telling you what to do within the game? Yeah, I probably would, actually. I just basically need someone to start me off, just to explain, because I don't understand the whole just wander around and see what happens and talk to people and pick shit up, and I don't know, I kind of get frustrated by the fact that you go and talk to one person, they go, oh well, I'll help you if you go and talk to Bill over there. So you go and find Bill, and he goes, well, I'll help you if you go and talk to something, for God's sake. And then you go and get a key for him, bring it back here, and he gives you something, you give it to him, and he tells you something. I ain't got time for that. I really can't be arsed sitting there going back and forth, back and forth. I just want to play a game. I just want to sit down, switch my brain off, enjoy the story, and just get on with it. That's my biggest barrier to RPGs, as well as not understanding what the hell I'm doing. But yeah, with a walkthrough, it'd probably make it a little easier to start me off, and then I could probably get absorbed, I think. Question number 3: can you name any film and TV show that is very highly rated, but you absolutely hate it, and why? A TV show would be Breaking Bad. I can't say I absolutely hate it, but I don't understand the hype. I watched 1, maybe 2 episodes of it, and normally when I watch 1 episode of a show, I'll either go, yeah, this is brilliant, I want to continue watching it, or this is a load of crap, I'm not watching it again. I can tell straight away. Some shows I have to watch a second episode because I'm not entirely certain. But Breaking Bad, I don't know what the big deal was. I couldn't get into it at all. It was just meh. It just didn't interest me at all. And usually when these shows are overhyped, it always the same with Walking Dead. First season, I managed to get through the first season, but Jesus Christ, it was slow and boring. I just could not be arsed after that. My dad's still watching it, and he said it gets a lot better after that. But I can't be bothered to go back and catch up now. Film, yeah, Star Wars, easily. To me, Star Wars is severely overrated. It's not to say it's a bad film or bad series of films. I just think it's severely overrated. I don't get it at all. I've tried watching them and they're just ridiculous. I find the aliens stupid, and I find it quite childish, to be absolutely honest. And apologies for any Star Wars fans, which is probably everybody, but I just don't like it at all. I prefer Star Trek. Always prefer Star Trek. It's more grounded in reality, and you can actually see the possibilities of that happening. The Federation, and I don't get Star Wars at all. And I know it's escapism, sci-fi, and that's what I love, but no, I just can't stand Star Wars. Alright, okay. Question number 4. Right. Have you watched any movie that was so bad you couldn't watch the entire movie? Transformers 2. That film was utter shite. Oh man, I did actually go back and force myself, and I mean force myself, to watch the whole film eventually. But when I first watched it, I watched about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I just couldn't watch it anymore. It was just irritating the hell out of me, and I had to switch it off. It was mainly Sam Witwicky's mum. Oh my god, the dialogue that she was so annoying. I just found the film just beyond it. Even when I watched the whole film eventually, the stupid comedy with the Transformers and these dumb robots and the crap characters and the god awful dialogue, it was just horrendous. Now, the first film is a good film. It's not a brilliant film. It's not a shit film. It's a good, solid film, and I enjoyed it. But the second one was utter bollocks. Oh my god. And the third one was like a little bit better than number two, but nowhere near the quality of number one. Number four, however, the two trailers that have come out look absolutely phenomenal, especially the latest trailer. Absolutely blew my mind. I hope to God the film is actually good, because that trailer is just stunning. And yeah, and it's got Mark Wahlberg, so hopefully that will raise it up a little bit, because I do like Mark Wahlberg. We'll wait and see though. I'm not getting my hopes up, because I know it'll be crap and I'll just be really gutted. But yeah, definitely number two, worst film ever. Question number 5. Oh, what is your favourite Arnold Schwarzenegger film and why? Oh, now that is a great question. It's going to have to be Terminator 2, I think, definitely. I've seen all the Arnie films, except for the new ones he's been doing now he's older. I need to catch up on those, but all the classic Arnold films that everyone knows, I've watched them all, and I'll take T2 is my favourite. My least favourite is Raw Deal. I just can't get on with that film at all. I found that film so boring. I never understood what was good about that film. But yeah, obviously Commando, Red Heat, Running Man, Total Recall, all absolutely fantastic classic movies. They're brilliant. I'm not a big fan of the Conan movies. They're all right, but they're not really my kind of thing. But the original Terminator is a really solid, brilliant sci-fi film. Sort of sci-fi horror, I suppose. But number 2 just took everything that was good about number 1 and made it so much better. It had a fantastic storyline, brilliant characters, really well written. The dialogue was superb. The casting was absolutely perfect. I mean, you couldn't have got a better cast. Everything about it, the T1000 at the time, the effects, the CG was just surreal. It was just an absolutely brilliant film. Just the whole changing the whole dynamic and making the Terminator reprogrammed to protect John Connor was just a genius idea, and it worked so well. Miles Dyson, I love Miles Dyson, brilliant character. The whole Cyberdyne thing, you know, Sarah Connor just being this total badass. It was just, everything about that film was perfect. You know, there's so many great scenes in the movie. Just the music in the film is just unreal. The score is just awesome. Yeah, Terminator 2, phenomenal. Best film you ever made as far as I'm concerned. Possibly one of the best sci-fi films ever made as well. Next question, number 6. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go, and have you been outside the UK? I haven't been outside the UK yet. Furthest I've travelled is Scotland, so not very far at all. If I was going outside of UK, there are a few countries I want to visit. I want to go to France. I want to go to Spain, but I'm not that bothered about Spain. It doesn't really interest me that much, but I'll have a look. The main ones are France, Italy, Germany, Australia, America, Canada, and Japan. Those are the main ones I want to visit, because all of those countries have things that interest me and are really beautiful countries. I've heard Germany's supposed to be absolutely stunning. I used to work with somebody who went to Germany once, and they absolutely loved it. They thought it was an amazing country to visit. Obviously France, you know, you've got all the culture and the art, and you've got, you know, the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe and all that sort of stuff, so that's always good. Italy the same, you've got loads of beautiful architecture, so that would be really cool. Australia, because it's just awesome. It's vast and it's just phenomenal, and I think it'd be really, really cool to visit Australia. And Australian people just seem really cool and really laid back as well. So yeah, I think it'd be a good place to visit. It'd certainly be interesting. America, well, you know, I think everybody knows how great America is. It's just a fantastic country. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, like all countries, it's not about its faults, but you know, I actually think there's a lot to offer in America. I've got a Blu-ray where Stephen Fry travelled around America, and there's some absolutely beautiful parts, especially in the South as well. Some absolutely gorgeous parts of America down south. and I really want to visit New York. I've always wanted to visit New York. Not bothered about California. Nothing interests me in California. There's nothing there. You've got the whole Hollywood fakeness and everything. Doesn't interest me at all. New York's a lot more of much more interesting city to visit. And then outside of the city, you've got all the safe, and and you've got the Midwest as well. And there's just so much. America's so vast, And Canada would be really cool as long as it's not snowing. So there's a fair few places. I mean, I'm getting older, so I need to really do something about it. But we'll wait and see. I'm also a bit iffy about the flight as well. I've only flown once in my life, and that was to Scotland. It was only an hour, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I really like the takeoff, and I really like the landing. I don't like the middle bit. It scared the shit out of me. Mainly because I made the mistake of sitting next to the window. And when you're looking at the window and you're coming up over the clouds, Jesus Christ. And all I could think in my head was, all there is a thin piece of metal, which it ain't that thin, but between me and the ground. And I didn't like that at all. It freaked me out big time. But I mean, I always hear that people say that they hate the takeoff and landing part. I love that. I thought it was brilliant. Taxiing down the runway, and when the thrusters kick in, you've got that power, and you just suck back in your seat, and it's just like, rough. Oh, it's just awesome. That's such a great moment. Right, okay, well, what's the next one? Yeah, and the last question from Josh is, did you watch any children's TV shows when you were young? What were they? Oh, loads, mate. Mostly cartoons, I think, more than anything. Like Dogtane and the Musketeers, He-Man, She-Ra, Mask, which I absolutely love, Centurions, which is just an awesome cartoon, one of the best. But Mask is just epic. What else did I watch? God, there was TV shows like Funhouse and Nightmare. Nightmare is a brilliant show. If you've not seen Nightmare, Google it. It's just absolutely fantastic. Really good show. I used to watch Blockbusters, which was like a quiz show. Don't know why I was watching that, but there you go. I used to watch that. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. There's Transformers, of course, obviously. Thundercats. All the obvious stuff. I mean, the 80s were really good because there was just such a good variety of shows to watch. And Different Strokes for TV shows, another one. I love Different Strokes, that was brilliant. Alf, Alien Life Form, I love that. I keep meaning to buy an Alf doll, just from my room. I've seen loads of plush Alfs, and they just look awesome. I love that show, it's really weird, but really cool at the same time as well. So yeah, so those are some of the shows I used to watch anyway. So thanks for all the questions, Josh, absolutely brilliant, mate. Right, next question is from Achu, Matt, who asks, have you set yourself a limit for the most you will pay for a Super Nintendo game? In other words, what do you think is just too much on principle alone? Anything over 200 quid is probably too much, but then some games like Super Turrican 2 are going to have to pay over 200 quid. So it's a tough one. I don't really want to go over 200, but at the end of the day, it is my favourite console, and if a game that I really want has gone up through the roof and I've got no choice, so I've got to pay $350 for it, I'll just spend a couple of months putting money aside until I've got it and buy it. It all depends on the game, that's what it comes down to. If Super Turrican 2 in the next year, because I ain't going to have to buy it for a long time, say in the next 12 months Super Turrican 2 is even more expensive than it is now, and it goes up to like 500 quid. I mean, I hope to God it doesn't, but say it went up to £500, that game to me is worth paying 500 quid for. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of money, and it's a ridiculous amount of money for a game. It's stupid, I know that, but I'm going to get so much pleasure out of owning that game and playing the hell out of it that it's worth the money. Obviously, if it's an RPG or something, I wouldn't pay the money because I've got no interest. So it's really down to how much interest I have in the title. I wouldn't just buy a game that's super expensive because it's expensive and rare just for its value. I don't collect for value. Obviously we're all aware of the value of our games to a certain degree. We keep an eye on the prices every now and again, but realistically it doesn't matter because the bubble could burst. If the bubble bursts, they ain't worth nothing. So you've got to collect really just because you have a love for a system and you want the collection of games, you want the library. There's no point in collecting for value, I don't think. I think it's a complete waste of time. At the moment it's great because if you do have to sell stuff, you're going to get your money back and make a profit. But long term, don't collect for money, just collect for the love of the system. I think that's the best way. Thanks, Matt. Right. Okay, next question. Right, from Dave, I'm a Game Geek. Alright, Dave. And Dave asks, best place to get a region modded Super Nintendo and how much do you reckon? Been looking and prices all over the shop. I can see somebody's actually recommended the place for Dave to look as well. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure with the modding stuff though, to be honest. I know Console Passion do all the modding, and that Console Passion have got quite a good reputation, so I'd say have a look at them as well, see how much they're charging for it. There might even be people on YouTube that do it for you. You never know, because I know there's a few people in the I was going to say in the industry. There's a few people in the community that are very good with the old technical side and the modding. So yeah, there's always an option. But yeah, have a look at Console Passion, see how much they're charging, because as far as I'm aware, they're a good company. I've never used them like in the last, I don't know how many years. I used them once years ago, but I mean that was a long time ago. But problem I have with Console Passion is their website doesn't tell you anything. It's really frustrating in terms of the games. They don't give you any information about condition, and it's frustrating because I watched them at Blackpool, and all the videos I've seen, they seem to have really nice condition stuff. So if they updated their website and actually put condition on there, they'd probably sell a lot more. But anyway, okay. Right, okay, so the last question for this week's episode comes from a good mate Adam, Shock16. Right, Adam? Okay, so let me see what he's asking. Right, okay, so Adam asks, what console did you buy with low expectations, if any, and it ended up blowing you away? And on the flip, right, okay, I'll do that first of all. So, which console, low expectations, if any, ended up blowing me away? Probably the PlayStation 3, when I think about it. Because I was a massive Xbox fan, and I pre-ordered Xbox 360, jumped on it, loved the 360 to bits. And when the PlayStation 3 was coming out, I didn't really have a lot of love for it because the PlayStation 2 was a console that I really wasn't asked about. I enjoyed it for a minute, and then I got an Xbox and it was game over for PlayStation after that. And so I was really in Xbox fanboy mode at that point when the PlayStation 3 was coming out. And they were taking so long to get the console out as well. I was just like, I don't see what the big deal is. I couldn't see what the hype was. And until, of course, I got one, and I imported one from America. They had the 20 gig and 40 gig models to start with, from what I can remember. I imported a 20 gig model because the cheaper one. And I played Resistance Fallen Man, and I was sold. I was like, this is awesome. Plus, I could use it as a Region 1 DVD player, which was an absolute bonus at the time. Yeah, I was just blown away. I mean, it only had the 6-axis control. There was no rumble at that point because of the legal action. But I was just so impressed with that game. I thought it was absolutely stunning. It really surprised me, actually, and it was the game that probably turned me around and drew me more towards PS3 than it did Xbox 360. And now today, I'm like a massive proponent of PS3. I love PS3. Best console of last generation, in my opinion, without doubt. Xbox has got its good points, got some great games, but PS3 annihilates Xbox. I love it. And I ain't no fanboy at all, as you know, so yeah, that was the one that really surprised me quite a lot, actually. Also, on the flip side, which console did you get excited about, bought it in high hopes, and turned out to be really disappointed? Well, I think you know the answer to that one, Adam. I think most people know the answer to that one without even asking the question. It's going to be the Wii U. It's got to be. I mean, if you look back at my videos on YouTube prior to the Wii U getting launched, I was hyping the shit out of that machine, and I was really chuffed, and I couldn't wait to get one. And I do think now, why the hell was I getting so hyped about it? Because the Wii wasn't that brilliant. It was good. It's got some great games, but it's not a gamer's console by any means. Yeah, so I don't know what. I think I just got hyped up by Reggie in America, and I was just getting swept along with the whole really cool gamepad and the innovation and the HD graphics and the potential. I mean, all the stuff that's been taught, and it looked like they were doing the right thing. They got third parties on board, and they were going to make great games, and you know, it looked like they were going in the right direction. I was like really caught up, whereas most people on YouTube are going, nah, I'll wait and see. And you guys were the right ones. You made the right decision. Didn't jump in like I did and waste all your money. Yeah, so that was a massive disappointment. Still really gutted about the Wii U, because the hardware itself is brilliant. When you use it, it's great. I must admit, you know, the UI is great. The controller is excellent, although I did find after prolonged use it can hurt my left hand a bit. It aches. It's a bit too big and uncomfortable. They could do shrinking it down a little bit to make it more comfortable. And I just can't get to grips with having the buttons underneath the analog sticks instead of above the analog sticks. Even on the Pro controller, it just drove me mental. It doesn't work. The buttons need to be above the sticks, not below them. So those are the only two things I've really changed. You know, make the gamepad smaller and move the buttons up the top. But the gamepad itself, if they actually bothered to use it more and made some innovations, it'd be brilliant. It's a really, really good device. The hardware is great. There's just no bloody software. And that's the biggest problem. They need to stop being in the old school way of making games, and they need to come into the modern era, into 2014, and kiss some ass and get the third parties on board, so that we've got a regular stream of games coming out for the console while we wait for those amazing games like Mario Kart 8. You know, because I mean, the Nintendo games, you can guarantee they're going to be brilliant. They're never bad. You know, you can totally rely on Nintendo, the most reliable company out there in terms of software, like the first party software. It's just, man, such a shame. I hope to God the next console they bring out is better, and that they've learned and they really do push forward and improve, and just give us a console with a controller. That's all I want. I want a nice, shiny HD console with a controller, with all your amazing Nintendo first party games, and all the usual third party stuff, cross-platform. You know, don't worry about innovating. Just give us good games, give us a great console, and you'll be back on top. That's all I want. That would be awesome. And there's been leaked footage of a alleged Star Fox game for Wii U, and I wish I hadn't seen that, because man, if that's real and that gets announced at E3, and it's a true Star Fox in the original traditional SNES and N64 style, it's going to be so hard to not want to buy a Wii U again. But I just can't do it. Maybe at the end of its life, when the console's like 100 quid, 50 quid, I'd pick one up just to play the Star Fox game, but I just can't get back on that horse again. Well, thank you for your questions, Adam, and thank you guys for watching as well. I really appreciate all the questions I get on these episodes. If you do have a question for my Ask Snes episodes, just drop them down below in the comments, and I'll reply to them each week on a Friday. So obviously any questions you leave this week will be answered next week. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and of course, if you want to watch more videos from me, just hit subscribe. Then I'll keep you up to date with all my latest videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Hey guys. Right, okay, so apologies. I do appear to have missed out a few questions for this week's episode. I didn't realise, after I finished filming the first part of the video, I realised that what I'd done on the tablet, I didn't click on the show more button. So there were a lot more questions underneath, so apologies for that. So I'm going to answer those now, so let's just get straight into it. And the first question is from Brew Timer, I think that's how you say it, who asks, what classic SNES game would you most like to see remade in its original form, but with modern graphics? And his choice would be Ask Snes. Very good choice, that, mate. I like that one. That would look really good with the modern graphics. Yeah. First, saw some bloody kids going mental outside. Anyway, yeah, Ask Snes look wicked, especially that first stage with the water. That looked really good actually. I would say if you're going to just update it with modern graphics, what have I got in here at the moment? That is quite tough. I would probably say F-Zero. I think everybody's been trying to get an F-Zero game on the Wii U anyway. But yeah, that would actually be really, really nice to see. Other than that, Contra 3, because Contra 3 would just look epic. Yeah, they'd do it like a downloadable, I suppose, but that would look really, really good, because it's got so many different graphical effects. It'd be interesting to see what they could actually do with the modern technology. So thanks for your question, mate. Right, next question is from Retro Rich, right, Rich? And Rich asks, okay, if you had to have sex with a mermaid who has been split into quarters, which two would be human and which two would be fish? What? You can choose the front or back, or her top half, or the front or back of her bottom half. What the hell are you on about, Rich? It's got... Alright, okay, split into quarters, right? Which two would be human, which two would be fish? I'm a bit confused unless I'm missing the point, because surely the top half, both top halves would be the human parts and the bottom halves would be the fish, depending on where the mermaids are. Because if on land, they would have legs, so both bottom and top would both be human. And I suppose if they're sitting on a rock as well, they've got the choice. They can either have the fish part at the bottom or they can have legs. Whereas in the water, they have to have the fish part at the bottom. I'm not entirely sure what the hell you're doing with that one. That's a weird question, mate. But yeah. So I don't know. It depends on the situation. It depends where the mermaids are, really, doesn't it? It's not a straightforward answer. I really don't know how to answer that. That's just weird. Alright, okay. Next question from Exo Vigetta. If you could go back in time and play games with a younger version of yourself, which era would you pick? the 1990s, without doubt, the 16-bit era, 16-bit and 32-bit, 64-bit era, best era of all time, and all the greatest games came out in that time. The transition between 2D and 3D as well, going into PlayStation and Nintendo 64 was just phenomenal. You know, I mean, it was just amazing. Even like just the simple things. In the 16-bit era, we had speech as a regular thing in games. Back in the 8-bit days on the computers, speech was rare. I mean, you got the odd bit of synthesized speech, but it was not commonplace like it is now. So that's quite surreal when you look at that, because the young ones probably wouldn't understand that now. Be like, how can you not have speech in a game? But yeah, there was a time when there was no speech in our games. It's quite weird. It was all text-based. So yeah, so I think the 16-bit era was obviously an evolution, and then the 32, 64-bit era just pushed it even further. And the 1990s were right there, the best decade ever. So yeah, definitely I'd go back to the 90s. My spider senses tingling asks, which actor out of Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield best suited the role of Spider-Man? Right, this depends on how you approach it. I'm not a comic book guy, so I can't look at it from that angle. But looking at it from a movie standpoint, for me personally, it's Andrew Garfield all the way. I don't like Tobey Maguire. I find him really irritating to watch on screen. He's just got one of them faces that I don't know, he just looks like a dopey bastard all the time, and I can't deal with him. And especially after what he did in Spider-Man 3 with that stupid emo bullshit, strutting down the street. I know that was obviously written and he has to do that, that's his part, but I hated that. I hated it so much. Andrew Garfield, I've not seen number 2 yet. I need to see The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I've only seen the first one. But I thought Andrew Garfield was brilliant. He embodied the character so well. He was really good at doing like the nerdy Peter Parker, you know, the geeky side. And then he just, the sheer enjoyment as Spider-Man. And I think it helped because he's such a massive Spider-Man fan anyway, you know, outside of the film, that he really put that into the character. And you know, the just absolute, you know, enjoyment of just getting these powers and being able to swing around the city and just having fun with it like you should be having. And I thought Andrew Garfield was fantastic, so yeah, definitely pick him. And he also asks, what is the best war film you've ever seen? That's hard. I don't really watch war films, to be quite honest with you. I'm just trying to think. I mean, obviously like the Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, this is the problem. I don't watch war film. Full Metal Jacket, which I've never really watched. I watched bits of it. I don't think I've ever seen the full film. I thought Saving Private Ryan was seriously overrated. I didn't think much of that film at all. Yeah, I can't actually think. The only thing I can say, I mean, it's a TV show, is Band of Brothers, because that for me is the best ever visualisation of war. I mean, it just really makes you think a lot about the realities of the situation, and it's really in depth and intense, and it's just absolutely brilliant. But as far as film concerned, I really can't think of one, to be absolutely honest with you. They're not really the kind of films I tend to watch normally. But thank you anyway. Okay, next question, good mate King Arthur, Tom. Tom asks, have you considered starting a collection for another system that you haven't owned before, or at least properly collected for? Yeah, I started thinking about the Virtual Boy. Not entirely sure, still on the fence with that one, because it hasn't got a large library of games, and it's the only system I haven't actually owned yet, and it looks really interesting. And who was it I was watching the other day? I don't know if it was Steve Benway, I can't remember, it might have been. And the person was saying that, how much they were impressed with the Virtual Boy. I'm sure it was Steve Benway. It was really interesting because obviously there's all this thing with headaches and all that. But every time I see people talk about it, they say that they don't experience headaches and it's a really good system to use and it's actually got potential. I'm just really fascinated by it actually, because it's an oddity. I don't know too much about the system, and it looks really cool. It's got an amazing controller. And it's just a really interesting console. Well, if you can hear, you can't even really call it a console because it isn't, is it? I don't know. I don't really know what the correct term would be for that. It's more of a mobile device than anything. Well, semi-mobile because it's quite large. But yeah, I think if I was gonna pick another system to collect for now, it probably would be the Virtual Boy. It's a really cool display piece as well. You know, Ben Shenmuzzo, he's done a good job of displaying his. It just looks awesome. So yeah, I think I'll go with that, Tom. Right, okay, so that's the last couple of questions, so that's great. So that's everything up to date. So sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened there. There's bit of an oversight there, apologies. But that's all the questions answered, so hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll be back next week with episode 3, so if you have any questions for that episode, just put them down in the comments below and I'll answer those next week. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, give the video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you want to see more videos, just hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, see you all again soon.